Shalom and welcome to the Fan's Perspective. My name is Eliana Piepsh. I'm a former IDF combat commander and a diehard Commanders fan. This is it. This is one of the most exciting times. Now, if there are any Commander fans there in the audience, you guys know my pain where the draft used to be, honestly, the most fun time of the year. This is the time of year where all 32 fan bases actually have hope for the next coming year. You have all these new players, new prospects, and you hope that they can turn the fortunes of your season and of your franchise. Now, for Washington, that was kind of the pinnacle of the hope back in the day. Thankfully now, into the draft, we got Jane Danielson. He has changed our fortunes, hopefully forever. And now this season is honestly the most exciting part of the year. But this is still up there. I absolutely love the draft. It's always exciting. It's like the best reality TV show that's out there. I know I'm a girl, but I don't do reality TV outside of the draft. So this is it. This is the time to be alive. So what I'm going to be doing today is a predictive mock draft. What I think each team is going to do. There's going to be some trades in here. And please don't get too bogged down into the details of draft compensation, whether I give, too rich a deal, too poor a deal. The main thing is going to be that certain players are going to be trading, or certain teams are going to be trading up in the first round. Whether or not they get a second round pick or a third round pick in return is not as important because I'm just doing a 1-round mock draft. But let's just jump right into it. There it is, PFF mock draft simulator. We're doing all the teams for the first round, and let's just kick it off. With the first pick in the draft, no doubt, Fernando Mendoza is going number 1 overall. That is what's going to happen. Everyone's known that for the last about 4 months. No surprises here. Now, with the second pick in the Jets, there has been some talk about whether they would go Arvell Reese or David Bailey. Throughout the first part of the draft season, all the talk has been Arvell Reese. He's the better prospect. He's a higher ceiling. And that was the consensus view of it. Then about 2 weeks ago, there was talk about David Bailey is actually going to be the pick there at 2. That garnered a lot of steam. Since then, some people have kind of taken that statement back. And also, the Jets then canceled David Bailey's top 30 visit. So there's a lot of questions about whether or not they're going to take him. I'm actually going to give them David Bailey in this exercise. I think that teams view him as a safer prospect and that he's going to give you the sacks and the impact plays. I personally don't see that. I'm not as big a David Bailey fan, but this is not what I'm going to do. This is what I think each team is going to do. So I think David Bailey will be selected by the Jets. Now with the third overall pick, they could go Reese, they could go Love, they could try and trade down. In this scenario, I do not think that Arizona is going to trade down. I don't think there will be a team who is going to be high enough that Arizona would like to trade back and not trade back too far with, and I don't think there's going to be a team that is going to need to go up and trade with them at 3. I think Arvell Reese is a very enticing player, but, for example, Tennessee, I don't think is going to trade with them 1 spot. New York is not trading up for an edge. Cleveland doesn't need to. Would Washington? I don't think so. Washington does not have enough draft capital. And then by the time you're New Orleans and Kansas City, is edge really your number 1 need? Are you really going to sell a lot of either current assets, like your second round pick plus, or future assets to go up 5 spots? I don't think so. So I'm going to give them the best player in the draft, and that is Jeremiah Love. This is what I would do, and I think this is what they are going to do. There's a lot of talk about their owner being full on Jeremiah Love, and honestly, I get why. And now for a team building perspective, it might not be the smartest move, but you can still have Jeremiah Love, and then you can put a rookie quarterback in that offense, and you have Jeremiah Love in the backfield, Trey McBride at tight end, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson as receivers, and now that is a really, really nice looking offense. Now, the offensive line is a question mark, and of course you would like to address that need, but I think that you can kind of make it work. Now, if they take Ty Simpson and they throw him into a offense that has all those playmakers, but not an offensive line, and he crashes and burns, I think that's kind of unfair to Ty, so we'll see whether or not they get him in this draft. We'll see how the board falls. But I think that's kind of the thought process for 2027. It's probably not the best process for 2026, but we'll see what happens. Alrighty, now with the 4th overall pick, we have the Tennessee Titans. There's a lot of talk about them going Sonny Styles with the 4th overall pick. With Arvell Reese on the board, that's really enticing. Jeremiah Love obviously was just selected, and those are kind of the major 3 names that have been connected to Tennessee. So I'm going to give them Arvell Reese. I think he's the best player currently on the board. I think he's an extremely high floor, actually. I think worst case scenario, he's like a Frankie Louvu type linebacker, and best case scenario, he's Micah Parsons as a pass rusher. That's someone who I would want to take in the top 5. That is at a higher positional value than linebacker is. I think Arvell Reese can be a pass rusher, and if you have Robert Saleh in that front, I think that he will find a way for that team to really be able to unlock him, and hopefully he can reach a ceiling close to that. And I understand they do need to fix the offense, and I agree they do need to fix the offense, especially at receiver, but it's a good thing that this is a deep receiving class, and I think they will just do that a little bit later on in the draft. Now, with the 5th overall pick. Early on, everyone was talking about how Sonny Styles is going to go to the Giants. John Harbaugh loves this type of player. He's big, he's fast, he's long, he's everything you want in a player. But he's an inside linebacker. Then recently there's been talks like the last 2 days that Sonny Styles is not going to be selected at number 5. Maybe if he falls to 10, which he won't, maybe he'll get selected there. Personally, I don't really buy that. I think Sonny Styles is still very high up on their board, but what I buy more is Jordan Tyson. They've put a lot of time and effort into really scouting out Jordan Tyson. They were one of just a couple of teams who sent their general manager to his, not quite pro day, but his workout that he did, I think last Friday or 2 Fridays ago. Yeah, last Friday, April 17th, that's when it was. So they have invested the time and the effort into scouting him out, and I think that they know that he's not going to be there at 10. You have possibly Washington, but people have said that Washington is more of a Carnell Tate team, and also I just hope Washington doesn't take a receiver at 7. Then at 8, New Orleans could take a receiver. Kansas City has been linked to Jordan Tyson, so I think they know that he's not going to be there at 10. Now the question is, do they try and do an Arizona Cardinals in 2023 type, where they move down from 3 to 12 and then back up to 6 to get the player they want? Now, maybe they could try that, but I don't really see that happening, because New York picks at 5, and then Cleveland at 6. Now you're not going to trade up to Cleveland, because unless you want to be like crazy like Houston did so they could get the 2 players they want. I don't really see that happening. They're not going to trade up with Washington, their divisional rival, at 7. Now, do you trade up with the Saints? If the Saints love Jordan Tyson, they're not trading back 2 spots for that. Same thing with the Chiefs. So I think that they know that he's not going to be there at 10. And with all of the effort that they've gone into, I think they draft Jordan Tyson. Now, as a Washington Commanders fan, I absolutely love this, because I do not think a number 2 receiver is ever worth a top 5 pick. So we're going to be maybe getting into that a little bit with Washington at 7. But I think this is where the Giants are going to go. Now, the thing is with their 10th overall pick, and we'll get there in a moment, is they're either going to go 1 offense, 1 defense, or both offense. I do not see them going both defense. So with this pick, that kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility at 10 that they can go on either side of the ball. Now we have Cleveland with the 6th pick. And you have Sonny Styles on the board. And everyone knows Washington is going to be taking Sonny Styles if he gets there at 7. And I think their divisional rival, Dallas Cowboys, are going to trade up with them to select Sonny Styles. Dallas packages both of their firsts for Cleveland 6. And yeah, they want a difference maker on that team. They had one last year in Micah Parsons, and they traded him away. But Dallas will just be Dallas, okay? What are we going to do about it? So I think Jerry Jones gets an itch, and he just says we have to trade up. And if you're Cleveland, you now have the 12th, the 20th, and the 24th overall pick. You just got a ton of picks, 3 first-rounders. They're all mid-first-rounders, and in this kind of draft, that's probably not where you would want to have a lot of picks, but you're going to have shots at it. You can probably get a lineman at 12, lineman who you like, and maybe you hope to get a receiver a little bit later. So that's where I'm going with. I think Dallas, this is just the type of move that they're going to make. There's been a ton of smoke of Dallas trading up in this year's draft, and I think where that smoke is, there is fire, and I think Dallas ends up doing it in this draft. Now, Washington is heartbroken because they wanted Sonny Styles at 7. Now, Sonny Styles got picked ahead of them. So their options are Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, and Carnell Tate. Basically 4 of the 5 guys right here. I think those are the options for Washington. Now, Bain has not really been linked to Washington. Adam Peters is a very big RAS, relative athletic score guy, and Ruben Bain has not really worked out too much, and he has short arms, so maybe he's a little bit lower on Washington's board. I personally would absolutely hate for Washington to get a receiver on Carnell Tate. I think Washington has too many holes on defense. I think Adam Peters knows that, and he's going to take the player who probably has the highest floor of any players in this draft, and that's Caleb Downs. He's just rock solid. He has been the best safety in college football all 3 years he's played college football. He led an Alabama team in tackles as a freshman, and that was a Nick Saban-led Alabama team. He then went on to captain the Ohio State team for 2 years in a row. He was the best player on that Ohio State team that had, yes, you see this, Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. So, and he was still the best player. I think Caleb Downs is a slam dunk player. I think he's going to be top 2 or 3 at his position perennially in the NFL. Who knows, maybe Kyle Hamilton has a bad year and Caleb jumps him up. But I think this is a player who Washington needs. In addition to that, I don't think Mansour Delane is quite worth the 7th overall pick. I think that's a little rich for him. And you have questions in Washington's secondary. So I think if you have the opportunity to upgrade a position there in that secondary and good safety help helps corners out, I think you do that. So I'm going to have Caleb Downs going to Washington, as I have. All right, now with the 8th overall pick, I'm going to go receiver for New Orleans, and I'm going to explain why. You have Tyler Shuck, right? He had a great rookie year, but he's a 2nd-round pick. And if he has a sophomore slump, like we've seen a lot of quarterbacks have recently, and New Orleans kind of ends up where we thought they would be this year, right? They have a top 5 pick, And Shuck didn't have a good year. It doesn't mean he's going to be a bad quarterback, but he had a pretty good rookie year, bad second year. He was a second round pick. Is that really going to deter you from taking a quarterback in what is supposed to be a really great 2027 draft class? I'm not sure. Things could turn sideways really quick, especially by the time it's next year. He'll be like 26 years old. Like, this is already an older quarterback, and he didn't have a good year, and we have this, young up and coming 21-year-old rookie who's going to be available, and you could talk yourself into moving on from Shuck. So I think they need to take a receiver to really see and be able to evaluate fully Tyler Shuck and whether or not he's the quarterback of the future. Now, if you have Chris Olave and you have rookie receiver, plus you still have Alvin Kamara, you have Travis Etienne, I think that's enough playmakers to really be able to evaluate him, and it's a pretty bad NFC South. So he should have every opportunity to have a good year and compete for the playoffs. So I'm going to give them Carnell Tate in this situation, another Ohio State receiver. Carnell Tate seems to be the number 2 receiver. I don't know if the number 2 receiver. It seems like the people who are high on Tyson are really high on Tyson, and that they pick early. So it seems like Carnell Tate is actually going to be the number 2 receiver taken, even though he might consensusly be the number 1 receiver in this draft. So he goes at 8 to New Orleans. Now with 9, the Chiefs are probably pretty heartbroken. They wanted Jordan Tyson. Maybe they would have liked Tate. Those are 2 receivers now that were taken. But I have them going Francis Maui-Noah. They need to improve this offensive line. No one's talking about it, and they need to improve the offensive line. It's probably the worst offensive line that they've had in a few years. Patrick Mahomes is now a little bit older. He's coming off an injury, and you need to be able to protect Patrick. That's his kryptonite, as is basically everyone's quarterback's kryptonite. When they lost their 2 Super Bowls, it was because of really bad offensive line play. Get Francis Maui-Noah, arguably the best lineman in this class, and improve that right side, and if he's not good, you move him into guard, you move on with life, but you have to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes, and that is what Kansas City does with the 9th overall pick. Now at 10, you have the Giants. Look at all these players available. You have Ruben Bain, they're not going to go edge. Mansour Delane, maybe they go corner, who knows? They did have him in for a top 30 visit, so maybe they go there, honestly. Thieneman is a safety's too high. There's been talk about the Giants getting offensive line help, and you got Jordan Tyson with the 5th overall pick, and you just say, we're going to just build an offense around Jackson Dart. We're going to give him 2 receivers, Malik Neighbors and Jordan Tyson, and we're going to improve this offensive line, and we have Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart, and we're just going to run the ball right down your throat, and then when you least expect it, we got 2 legit receivers who are going to take the top off the defense and are amazing route runners and just really, really game-breaking players. I think they do that. I think they take Spencer Fano here. He can play inside, he can play outside. Just on the offensive line, you just have to get your best 5 out there, and I think they get Spencer Fano, and he's going to automatically be one of their best 5, and they will find a position, whether that's a right guard or right tackle, for him to step in day 1 and be an impact starter for them. Now with the 11th overall pick, you are the Dolphins. You just need a starter. You just need the best player on your board. Now, that might be Ruben Bain. I have to be honest, it could easily be Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain is the best player left on my board. But he is an outlier with his short arms. And does that scare Miami? It might. You have Mansour Delane, who is pretty universally seen as the top corner in this class. We'll get to Jermon McCoy and his injury concerns. But you have a top corner that's just as important as edge. And he doesn't have the short arm risk. So I'm going to have them take Mansour Delane over here with the 11th overall pick. They improve on defense at a very high position of value, and I think they move on there. Right now we have 12, and we have Cleveland Browns because they traded back with the Dallas Cowboys. Here, there's been so much smoke connecting Cleveland to Caden Proctor. I think they just take Caden Proctor here. Offensive linemen always go fast, and I think this is more where Cleveland would want to take Caden Proctor, and I think that's just what they do. They upgrade that offensive line, whether he's plays at tackle or guard. They've a year to figure it out. They're not going to be competing this year anyway, and I think they're pretty happy with that. Now you are LA, and you're at 13. Who do you take? Do you take receiver? Do you take Makai Lemon? Do you maybe take Kenyan Sadiq? Do you upgrade the offensive line? Iowane's here. Do you take a chance on Jermon McCoy? Probably not. They already traded and signed to corner, so they're probably not going corner. If they take just Ruben Bain, I think they just take the best player on the board. This is a team competing for a Super Bowl. They just saw the Seahawks win with waves of pass rushers, and the year before that, Philadelphia win with waves of pass rushers. Ruben Bain, he's a similar player to Jared Verse, but okay, so you have 2 just absolute bullies on the defensive line. Edge rusher is an extremely high position of value. This is going to help them in their Super Bowl chances, and I'm giving them Ruben Bain. I think you can find receivers later in this draft, and that's where I'm going with LA with the 13th pick. Now 14, I'm just going to go chalk, guys. I'm sorry. Baltimore Ravens going to take Eliana. This is just easy. Position of need. One of the best players on the board right now. Just blue chip. He's going to be great. Very, very high floor. Going to help Lamar. Going to help Derrick Henry. Easy as pie. All right, now we have the 15th overall pick. And what we need to be aware of is that the Lions pick at 17. Now, the Jets don't need a tackle. Tampa doesn't really need a tackle. But everyone knows the Lions want a tackle. And this is going to be a race in this draft on who can get the tackles, and is there a tackle that you like, and you have to move up, or you're probably going to have to move up to get him, because he's not necessarily going to be there where you pick. So I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman, who just cannot sit still. I'm going to have them trade up with Tampa Bay in this situation. I think they give up their 23rd overall pick, of course, and they get the 15th pick in return, and let's say they add in a third-round pick, number 68. All right, remember, don't get too bogged down into the details. The main thing is that Philly is trading up. Maybe it'll be more compensation, maybe it'll be less. I don't really know exactly how that works. NFL teams have their own different charts. Plus, this draft is a little bit weaker than other years, where I don't think Dexter Lawrence gets traded for a 10th overall pick a couple of years ago, where here he did because they didn't feel like there was enough, or since he didn't feel like there was enough blue chip players. So I think it's a weird value this year. So I'm not exactly sure how teams are going to value that, but the Eagles trade up to 15, and they take an offensive lineman. Who? Freeling, Maxi, I'm not sure. I think these are the two I'm thinking of. They both have the highest ceilings. I'm going to give them Monroe Freeling. He started at Georgia, a little bit more of a safer pick. He can hopefully replace Lane Johnson if you're Philly in a year. And until then, he can kind of learn from them. Hopefully this is like a Andre Dillard redemption, that it actually works out this time for them. And I think this is a position of need that Philly is going to want to do. I can see Howie Roseman moving up, and someone's going to have to get ahead of Detroit if they have any information that Detroit likes a tackle that they like. All right, now we have the Jets. I think this is easy. Mekhi Levin's still on the board. They need a receiver. They need to help out whoever is going to be their quarterback in 2 years. I think they get Mekhi Lemon. I think this is a pretty easy pick. He did get by LA, which hasn't happened all the time in mock drafts, but I think this is what happens, and I think the Jets are extremely happy with David Bailey and Mekhi Lemon. Now with the 17th pick, surprise, surprise, the Lions are going to go tackle. Who are they taking? Maxi Iheanacho is the highest ceiling. I think they take Maxi Iheanacho. He can play on the right side. That's where he played in college. You move Penei Sewell off to the left side, and I think of these two big athletic tackles, and I think that really helps bookend this line for the Lions and help protect Jared Goff and help block for Jahmyr Gibbs. This offensive line is extremely important for Detroit specifically. It's important for all teams, but I think specifically Detroit, and I think they're pretty happy. Even though maybe they wanted Monroe Freeling and Philly traded ahead of them for it, but I think they're pretty happy with Maxi Iheanacho. Now with 18, we have Minnesota. I think I'm going with the chalk pick again. Dylan Thieneman is the best player on this board. He's still available. It's a position of need for Minnesota. They have more than enough offensive weapons to help out, whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Kyler Murray. They have Jordan Addison and, of course, Justin Jefferson. And they have T.J. Hawkinson, and they have a good enough offensive line. I don't think we need to worry about offense. You need to worry about defense. And Dylan Thieneman is the best defensive player who's available right now. All right. We now have Carolina at 19, and again, this is just too easy. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, is a gaping hole for this offense, and for this team as a whole. They also need to improve on the offense, whether it's helping out on the offensive line because their starting left tackle got injured in the wild card round, whether it's giving more pass catchers for Bryce Young, so he can hopefully prove his worth and prove that he is worth that number 1 overall pick that he was selected in the 2023 NFL draft class. But I don't see them going for a receiver. You already drafted receiver 2 years in a row, and now you shake it up a little bit. You get a tight end. Yes, he's a pass catcher, but he can also block, and he's an extremely talented player. He ran a blazing 40, and I think this is exactly who Carolina is going to want at the 19th overall pick. Moving on, we now have Cleveland with their second first-round pick. This is Dallas's pick, the 20th overall. And you have Omar Cooper Jr., who's still available at receiver. I think I like that. But honestly, I'm looking here, and we have Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't need a receiver. The Chargers for sure don't need a receiver, and so does Tampa. I think unless someone trades up, you are probably going to get Omar Cooper with the 24th overall pick. So now, do you take that risk? And if so, who are you taking that risk for? Who are you selecting with the 20th pick who you don't think is going to be there at 24 and who you like? Messitor's too old for this team. McCoy has injury concerns. CJ Allen isn't worth it in my opinion. Safety, I don't know. Honestly, Kendrick Falk, if you can just develop this freak, the 6'6", 280-pound freak on the other side of the freak himself, Myles Garrett, You have this great defense. He doesn't need to be the guy day 1. He doesn't have to be the guy day 3. Myles Garrett is on this team. And the Chargers might take him at 22. I'm going Kendrick Falk. I've talked myself into it. You have an offensive lineman with your 12th pick. You have a defensive lineman with your 20th pick, and you hope you get your receiver at 24. That could work out really well if you are the Cleveland Browns. Now at 21, this Steelers team is pretty solid, but they're just old. So I don't think they're going to go Messidor, even though I think he would kind of fit the team, but they need to get younger. Do they go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren? Maybe they could. I love Jermon McCoy too much. I understand. So basically, his injury concerns are as follows. He had a torn ACL in January of 2025. So that's over a year ago. He then didn't play in the season. He didn't participate in the Senior Bowl, not in the Combine. So then people are like, is he good? Is he not good? Is he just scared to compete? What's happening? He then does his pro day, runs a 4.3, and that's good. He answers all the questions. But his on-field workout apparently wasn't extremely impressive, and there seems to be concerns on his other knee, actually, that would affect his long-term availability and not necessarily for this year. So would a team... I still think he's going in the first round. I'm sorry, his 2024 tape was absolutely incredible. It was the best tape of any corner in this whole draft class of any year. Yeah, you can't pass him up. He's going to help this Pittsburgh team. Yes, they signed Jamel Dean, and they already have Joey Porter, but so you have 3 legit corners. You're going up against Cincinnati twice a year with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You're going up against Zay Flowers, whoever the heck Cleveland drafts. Like, you have to have legit cover guys, and that'll only help TJ Watt and the front end to be able to get after the quarterback. And running back isn't a need, or there's no running back to take. Receiver isn't a need. There's no tight end to take. And do you maybe upgrade the offensive line, or do you get a legit corner? I think you get a legit someone who could be a number 1 corner in the NFL. Now at 22, the Chargers. I would have taken Kendrick Falk here, or they might have taken Kendrick Falk here, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think they're taking C.J. Allen or Akeem Messidor. They need to get younger at edge. Khalil Mack's there. They can't take a 25-year-old edge rusher. Even though they are in win-now mode, I don't know. I don't see that happening. McNeil-Warren. They're not taking a receiver. Caden McDonald. Yeah, I think I'll take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Just imagine him and Derwin James. Like, actually, close your eyes and imagine Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Derwin James. That's incredible. Now, I would have loved, honestly, Jermon McCoy here at 22. I think they need to upgrade their corner. I think Jesse Minter really covered up a lot of holes on that defensive side. But, as I said before, safeties help corner play. And if you have 2 legit, long, fast, versatile safeties. Oh my god, that's to be such a fun safety duo. I absolutely love this for LA, and hopefully they can get creative with it. Justin Herbert can hopefully lead them to the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game, who knows? And I think this is just a great safety duo for LA. Now at 23, honestly, this is probably the dream scenario for Tampa Bay. At 15, they probably would have selected Akeem Messidor. He's still available here at 23, and you recouped an extra pick. I think that's easy. That's chalk. They need edge rushing help. I don't think they go Kendrick Falk anyway, so I think Akeem Messidor helps them out here. There's not really another edge rusher. I think they would take Cassius Howell. It's great, but he's got short arms. TJ Parker maybe, but I think Akeem Messidor is just such a higher floor, and this is still a very good Tampa Bay team. They had a very disappointing 2025 season, but this is a team that could very much get into the playoff mix again this coming year. Now you're Cleveland and it worked out. Omar Cooper Jr. is there. You're selecting him. You're running in that card. You just got a potential starting tackle, a potential starting edge, and a potential starting receiver. Tackle, edge, receiver, 3 of the top 4 most valuable positions. And you didn't get quarterback this year, but there is no quarterback this year. And hopefully you get that next year. This is like a dream scenario for Cleveland. I'm so happy for them. Their fans deserve some good. So I hope this is actually what happens in the draft, but I could see the board falling this way, if I'm going to be honest. Now at 25, you have Chicago. They could take C.J. Allen. They cut Tremaine Edmonds. I don't think they take Avion Terrell this early. I don't think they take a tackle. T.J. Parker's there. Let's look at edges. I think T.J. Parker's the highest rated edge. Look, I like Gabe Yakus. Like, I absolutely love him. I also love Zion Young. But I think TJ Parker's going to go here. This is what I think Chicago is going to do. They need to upgrade on the edge. Someone across from Montez Sweat. I think he helps them out. He's just a good 3-down edge, and I think he really helps this team in Chicago. Now with pick number 26 for Buffalo, Caden McDonald's on the board. They were like the worst rushing defense in the league last year. They were great against the pass, horrible against the run. You get the best run defender in this draft. It's a position of need. He can help you out. Easy peasy. And I understand Denzel Boston's on the board, but Denzel Boston reminds me too much of Keon Coleman. I don't think you can get like 2 of the same receiver, especially when one really, really busted. And also now you have the owner talking not such great things about him, and he's probably going to get traded. I don't think you just get a one-for-one replacement. I don't think you do that. I think you get Kane McDonald, the best run defender in this draft, and he very much helps this team. Now, 27, you have the Niners. These Niners. Look, Trent Williams re-signed for 2 years, and he's probably going to be great for those 2 years because it's Trent Williams. But he's starting to get injured more often, and you need to help Brock Purdy. He is a smaller quarterback. You need to help block for Christian McCaffrey. He makes that offense go. I think you get Caleb Lomu. I think this is what they're going to do. Tackles are too valuable, and this is a position that San Francisco needs to address. Now at 28. Guys, I want to give him Peter Woods so bad. So bad I want to see this defense with Peter Woods. Oh, just imagine Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson and then Peter Woods in the middle. Amazing, amazing. But I'm going to give them another Clemson player, and that's Blake Miller. I think they can still upgrade on this offensive line. I think, as I said before, tackles are going to be very highly valued in this draft. I think when you have an opportunity to get a guy who can be a day one starter for you, like Blake Miller, a guy who's like never missed a game, missed one practice his whole collegiate career, started for a Clemson team, which is one of the better programs in college football, I think you take him when you have that opportunity. And this is also, like, this is a Texans team that doesn't really have many holes on this roster. And I think you just take advantage that you can just take a player of high positional value, and hopefully he can step in there and start for you and make a difference on your team. It's just such a great team. All right, Kansas City at pick number 29. Honestly, Denzel Boston's here. They got Maui Noah, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, they got Maui Noah at 9. Like, guys, I think they're going receiver here. Let's be honest. Receivers a need, very much a need for them. The corner is also a need, but Steve Spagnuolo's proven that he can develop guys later in rounds. Denzel Boston's here. He's a first-round caliber player, at least in this draft. I'm taking Denzel Boston. I think that's pretty easy. I think that's a really good pick for Kansas City. And they get offensive line, and they get receiver, and when Patrick comes back, he's got more protection and someone else to throw the ball to. I think that's exactly how you want to build your team. Now, with Miami, I think this is where Arizona trades up for Ty Simpson. I do think Ty Simpson is going to go in the first round, and they're not trading with Seattle. That's for sure. Maybe they trade with New England, but Miami, they want lottery tickets, all right? They just want shots. They're probably going to start like 10 rookies this next year, so maybe they start in 11th. Who knows? Let's say 34 for 30, and then they swap third rounders. So Arizona goes up 4 spots, but then back 10 spots in the third round. I think that works out. And Arizona's now on the clock. They take quarterback Ty Simpson. I don't love this team building. I gave them Jeremiah Love in the first round, kind of assuming that they would get someone in 2027, and now you have the 2027 offseason in free agency to upgrade that offensive line. That isn't happening in this scenario. I think Arizona is going to want Ty Simpson. Maybe there's going to be another team who gets him maybe a little bit earlier. Maybe like Pittsburgh gets him, or another team trades up to get him. I don't know. I really don't know. But Arizona makes the most sense of a team to get him, and I don't think it's the smartest team building, but then again, it's Arizona. They haven't made the smartest team building decisions always in their history. So I'm giving them Ty Simpson with the 30th overall pick. Now, 31, you are New England. There's no tackles left, are there? I think I took them all. Yeah. They're not going to take a guard. They're fine there. Avion Terrell's too small for them. Cassius Howell, I think he wants a bigger edge. Yeah, I think Vrabel's going to want a bigger edge. Zion Young's right there. Cisse, no. I'm getting Chris Bell. No, because look, they're probably trading for A.J. Brown, so they don't need a receiver, I'm assuming. I'm giving them Zion Young, just a big, tough T.J. Parker type of just 3-down edge. He can play well against the run. He has enough against the pass. He can also develop more. And I think this is what New England is going to want to do with the 31st overall pick. Now we've 32nd overall pick. We got the Seahawks. Now, could they go running back? They could. They could get Jadarian Price. But this is a classic team who just comes off the Super Bowl. So they're the best team in the league. And then they just pick a running back because that's what they need. That's the hole they need. And then next year they underachieve. And I think Schneider knows that. I don't think they're doing that. I don't think they're going running back with Jadarian Price. Probably going corner. Someone needs to replace Rick Woolen. Avion Terrell's too small. Maybe Colton Hood. I love Cisse. Look, I think Cisse fits Seattle perfectly, but there's not been a lot of Cisse hype going in the first round. So I think I'm going Chris Johnson. He's kind of been the guy who's gotten all the hype for the first round, fits this Seattle scheme extremely well. Very smart player. Mike McDonald can do a lot for him and do a lot with him. And yeah, I think this is how it goes. So this is my first round predictive mock we'll see how much I got right, how much I got wrong. Well, I'll be very excited after the draft to kind of see what I did right, what I did wrong, what I can improve on. Now, last year, I honestly just wrote down my mock draft last year. I didn't do this like PFF, which is honestly pretty cool. I don't know if anyone can read my absolute trash handwriting. I don't even know if you can see anything. Basically, I got 9 picks correct of player in that draft slot. Now, if you take away trades, like I had Travis Hunter going 2 and Mason Graham going 5, I just inverted Cleveland and Jacksonville because that was before the trade. So if you take that away, I think it was 6 players, but pretty good. Honestly, 9 is almost a third of the draft that I got completely correct. So hopefully I'm even more accurate this year. And yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Just have some fun, enjoy this first round, and I'll be back to break down for sure for the Commanders and for all the other teams, how the draft went, what surprises happened. This is the absolute best reality TV show. Enjoy it. We are just like 12 hours out. It's just, enjoy the moment. All right, I'll see you next time on The Fan's Perspective.